Accepting life as it is, the Buddhist path to freedom, we call it living. But if we look closely, most of what we do each day is quietly arguing with life. When someone we love leaves, whether they walk away or whether death takes them, we do not simply grieve, we bargain with reality. We tell ourselves, this should not have happened. This is not how it was supposed to be. And when a plan we cared about falls apart, we don't just feel disappointed, we feel betrayed, as if life owed us something and failed to deliver. But maybe life never promised us anything. Maybe we wrote the contract ourselves, in our own heads, with our own expectations, and then held life accountable for something it never agreed to. Almost everything we call suffering has this same structure. There is what is actually happening. And then there is the story we tell ourselves about what is happening. The gap between those two things is where most of our pain lives. Not the clean pain of loss, but the lingering kind. The kind that follows us from year to year. And we carry it so naturally that we forget it is even there. Until one day, we pause long enough to notice how heavy we have become. Over 2,600 years ago, a man looked at this pattern and asked a question we still have not answered. Not, how do I get more? Not, how do I arrange life so nothing goes wrong? But why is it that a human being can have everything and still not be at peace? Before he became the Buddha, he was Siddhartha Gautama, a prince who had wealth, family, comfort. Everything the world tells us should be enough. And yet, none of it resolved the fundamental problem. Because the problem was never about what he had or did not have, it was about how the mind relates to experience and the persistent way it refuses to let things be what they are. That question, why can't we be at peace with what is, lives underneath every restless night, every anxious morning, every moment we have looked at our lives and felt that something is missing. And no amount of rearranging the outside ever settles it for long. We solve one problem, and the next one is already forming. We get what we wanted, and within weeks, the wanting has moved to something else. The target keeps shifting because the target was never really outside us. The answer that emerged from that inquiry did not begin with changing the world. It began with seeing it clearly. In the original teachings preserved in the Pali Canon, the word acceptance does not appear the way we use it today. What appears instead is something more precise. Yathabhutam jnanadasana, seeing and knowing things as they truly are. Not as we wish them to be, not as we fear them to be, but as they are right now, in this moment. This sounds simple. It is not. It asks us to look directly at what is happening, without layering a story on top of it, without running from it or clinging to it. Just seeing. And what does that kind of seeing reveal? When there is pain, we know there is pain. When there is joy, we know there is joy. When there is loss, we know there is loss. We do not say, why me? We do not say, this must last forever. We meet the moment as it is. And this leads to perhaps the most important distinction in the entire teaching. One that, once it settles into us, can change how we experience everything. Pain and suffering are not the same thing. Pain is part of being alive. The body gets sick, people we love die, things we built come apart. This is not a flaw in life, it is life. In Buddhism, this is the first noble truth, dukkha, the friction that comes with being a conditioned, changing being, in a conditioned, changing world. But suffering, the deep, prolonged kind that weighs on us, that is something we add. The body gets sick, and then we say, why me? What if it never gets better? Someone leaves, and then we say, if only I had done it differently, if only I could go back. That entire layer, the why me, the if only, the this shouldn't be, is not the pain itself. It is the mind's response to the pain. And it is that response, more than the original event, that stays with us for months, for years, sometimes for a lifetime. If we watch carefully, we can sometimes catch the moment it begins, a brief gap between the event and the story, just a fraction of a second, before the mind rushes in to explain, to judge, to resist. The event is one thing. What the mind does with it is something else entirely. And it is in that gap, that tiny, almost invisible space, where the possibility of a different relationship with life begins. In the teaching on dependent origination, Paticca this pattern is traced to a key link. Upadana, which means clinging. We cling to pleasant experiences, wanting them to stay. We cling to the belief that painful experiences should not exist. We cling to an image of how life is supposed to look. And it is this clinging, not life itself, that generates lasting suffering. So, when we speak of accepting life as it is, we are not saying, be okay with everything. We are not saying, stop caring, stop feeling, stop responding. We are saying, notice when you are adding a second layer of pain to the first one. Notice when you are fighting with what has already happened. And as best you can, let this moment be what it is, even when it is not what you wanted. The pain of loss is natural. The pain of, this should not have happened, is something we create. And the entire Buddhist path is, in a sense, an invitation to stop creating unnecessary suffering, not by shutting down, but by waking up, by learning to be with what is here, rather than living in the war between what is and what we wish it were. There is a fear that most of us carry when we hear the word acceptance. It sounds like giving up. It sounds like letting life walk over us. No one wants that, so let us look at what acceptance is not. Acceptance is not passivity. The life of the Buddha after his awakening is perhaps the clearest example. He did not withdraw into silence. He walked across India for 45 years. He taught. He faced opposition. He dealt with illness in his own aging body. He watched close disciples die, and through all of it, he continued. Present, responsive, engaged. That is not surrender. That is what it looks like when clarity and compassion move together. There is also a subtler trap, one that catches even sincere practitioners. It is the trap of turning acceptance into an identity. We read the teachings. We practice. We begin to feel calmer, and then one day we tell ourselves, I have let go. I am past this. We mistake a period of calm for the end of the journey. And then, life tests us. We open a drawer and find a photograph of someone we once loved. We hear a song tied to someone who is no longer here, and everything rushes back. Suddenly, we are not the person who has let go. We are just someone who is hurting. And often, the real weight is not the emotion itself. It is the shame that follows. We think, what is wrong with me? I thought I was past this, but that shame is misplaced. The ache we felt when we saw that photograph is not weakness. It is proof that we loved someone genuinely. It is our humanity, not our failure. The problem was never the feeling. It was the story we built around having let go. And then the disappointment when life showed us the story was premature. This happens to almost everyone who sincerely practices. It does not mean the practice has failed. It means we are still in the middle of it, which is exactly where we are supposed to be. True acceptance does not announce itself. It is more like sleep. We cannot say I am sleeping and still be asleep. The moment we need to tell ourselves, I have accepted this, there is still something unresolved. The path is long. It does not ask us to be finished. It only asks us to keep walking. So what is acceptance in its simplest form? It is being here, with this, right now. Pain arises, we know it is there, and we do not build a world around it. Joy arises. We feel it, and we do not grasp at it. Something is lost. We acknowledge it, and we do not demand it back. It sounds almost too simple, but anyone who has tried it knows. Being present with what is, without adding or subtracting, is one of the hardest things a human being can do, and also one of the most freeing. This is the spirit of what the Pali Canon calls Satipatthana, the 4 foundations of mindfulness: awareness of the body, of feelings, of the mind, and of mental phenomena. It is described as a kaya no mago, the direct path, because it leads straight to freedom. no detours, just the willingness to be present with whatever is here. If you have been listening carefully, a question may have quietly formed. I understand this intellectually. I agree with it. So why is it so hard to actually live? This may be the most important question anyone on this path can ask. In the early Buddhist texts, there are 3 levels of understanding. The first is Suttamaya Panna, wisdom from hearing or reading. We listen to a teaching. We nod. Yes, everything changes. The second is Cintamaya Panna, wisdom from reflection. We think about it. We see the logic. Yes, nothing lasts. But neither of these changes how we live. Not really, because when the moment of real loss arrives, when someone we love is gone, when the ground shifts, all the books and all the logic cannot stop the wave from hitting. This is why so many of us feel frustrated. We know the teaching, we believe in it, and yet we still suffer. And we wonder if something is wrong with us. Nothing is wrong. We have simply not yet crossed the bridge from knowing to seeing. Knowing is information. Seeing is transformation. They are separated by practice. The third level is Bhavanamaya Panna, wisdom born from direct experience, from practice, from meditation. This is when we sit down, close our eyes, and observe, not as an idea, but as a living reality, that the breath comes and goes, that sensations arise and dissolve, that thoughts appear and disappear. And in that observation, something shifts. We do not just know that everything is impermanent. We see it, not as a thought, but as something our whole being recognizes. And once we have seen it that deeply, we cannot unsee it. When that kind of understanding settles in, acceptance is no longer an effort. The hand simply opens because we have seen directly that what we were holding was never solid to begin with. But this does not happen once, and then it is done. Acceptance is not a decision we make one morning and carry with us forever. It is a practice that lives in every moment. Every time plans fall apart, every time the body aches, we stand at the same crossroads, resist or see clearly. Most of us will resist first. We will react with anger, with sadness, with regret. That is what it means to be alive. The Buddha did not ask us to stop being human. The instruction is simpler than that. After the reaction, look again. That moment of looking, when we notice the sadness instead of drowning in it, that is the practice. That is acceptance at work. There is also a practice preserved in the suttas that serves this directly. Maranasati, the contemplation of death. We spend most of our lives carefully avoiding the thought of death. But the Buddha encouraged the opposite, not to create fear, but because most of what keeps us stuck is the assumption that we have unlimited time, that the people we love will always be here, that tomorrow is certain. In the Anguttara Nikaya, there is a passage where even thinking, "I might die within a day," is considered careless. True contemplation of death means understanding that life can end in the space of a single breath. If we truly lived with that awareness, would we still hold that grudge? Would we still wait to say what matters? Contemplating death is the practice of waking up to the life we already have, before it becomes the life we had. Contemplating death does not make life heavier. It makes life real. And when life becomes real, when we see that everything is genuinely finite, something shifts. The grip loosens, and in that loosening, there is space. Space that begins to feel like freedom. When people hear the word liberation in Buddhism, many imagine something otherworldly. A monk on a mountain, detached from feeling, floating above the mess of ordinary life. When we are in pain, the idea of escaping from it all sounds like the only kind of freedom worth having. But that is not what the Buddha pointed to. The freedom he pointed to is not freedom from life. It is freedom within life, right here, in the middle of the noise, the loss, the beauty, the heartbreak, the ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Freedom is not the absence of difficulty. It is the moment the mind stops being pulled around by its own reactions. The Buddha called this upekkha, equanimity. one of the four Brahma Viharas, the sublime states. Most people hear equanimity and think it means detachment. It does not. It is the steadiness of a mind that has weathered enough storms to know the storm is not the sky. A person with equanimity still feels, still knows pain, still knows tenderness, still knows loss. But the mind is no longer dragged around by these experiences. It meets whatever comes, the way we might sit with someone who is grieving, not trying to fix anything, not pulling away, just being there. True happiness, from this perspective, is not about feeling good all the time. It is when the mind is no longer pushed and pulled by circumstance. When something beautiful happens, we receive it without clinging. When something painful happens, we feel it without breaking. Not because we are numb, but because we have found ground that does not shift with every change in weather. This is where acceptance and freedom meet. We cannot be free while we are at war with reality. Every act of resistance binds us tighter to the thing we are resisting. The more we push against what is, the more defined we become by it. But when we look directly at life, all of it, what we wanted and what we did not, and we say, I see this. I am here. I am not running. Something that was tight for a long time begins to let go. Think of the sky and the clouds. The sky never pushes the clouds away. It never holds them in place either. Clouds come. The sky has clouds. Clouds pass. The sky is clear. But the sky is always the sky. It has never been harmed by any storm. It remains vast, open, because its nature is larger than anything that passes through it. Our awareness is that sky. Our emotions, our memories, our losses, our joys, they are weather. Some days the clouds are thick and heavy. Some days the sky stretches open and endless. But the sky does not become the clouds. It was never the clouds. And remembering this, not as an idea, but as something we know in the deepest part of ourselves, this is what acceptance finally means. Accepting life as it is does not mean we stop feeling. It does not mean we walk through the world untouched. It means we do all the things a human being does. Grieve, love, build, let go, without demanding that life be other than what it is. We grieve without arguing with death. We love without requiring permanence. We build without insisting on certainty. We live with our feet on the ground and our eyes open. And that, in the end, is freedom. Not the freedom of escaping to some other place, but the freedom of being wholly here, in this breath, in this moment, whatever it holds. The Buddha left behind 3 observations that, if truly seen, open everything. Sabbe Sankhara Anicca. All conditioned things are impermanent. Sabbe Sankhara Dukkha. All conditioned things are inherently unsatisfying. Sabbe Dhamma Anatta. All phenomena are without a fixed self. These are not conclusions. They are doors. When we stop resisting impermanence, we are free from the fear of change. When we stop expecting conditioned things to fully satisfy us, we are free from the endless chase. And when we see that there is no fixed, separate self that needs to be defended against life, we are free to live it completely. That is the Buddhist path to freedom. Not a path away from life, a path through the center of it, with open hands, with steady eyes, with the understanding, finally, that we do not need life to be different in order to be at peace.